Hello, everybody, and happy Tuesday, and welcome to your daily lighting critique. One of these days, I'm going to start rehearsing what day of the week it is, so I don't have to question it when it's halfway out of my mouth. So today we've got like 6-7 images to go through here. We do want to start with Andre. So this is his newest updated version. We've got a previous version. I'm going to talk through some thoughts that I had. We also have Diana, who pulled in some reference here that's really, really fantastic. And so we can kind of talk through this a little bit. In fact, let's go ahead and start talking about the reference now. So, Diana, so what were some of the things that you were noticing about these when you were pulling these in?
Well, I mostly looked at the time of day. It was kind of late afternoon, and you have that like low angle sunlight streaming into the room. And the main thing that I noticed was like on the window, when you have this much sunlight coming in, the tones are really not varied, and it's like hazy and glowy and kind of all the same color.
Yeah.
And that was basically what I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to get his thoughts on it because I wasn't sure if that was what he was going for, like late afternoon glow. So
that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that the second to last, that one is probably the one that I thought the most when I was doing the scene. Yes.
Yeah, but that's a really really good point, because it's Diana doing a nice job, and you guys are recognizing that it's much less about the things that are outside, like the actual, like this you can see very little. There's a lot of like grime on the windows themselves. Same thing with this one, like there's like kind of a hint of a building and a tree, but like it's all about a color and a haze and a softness to it that kind of comes in. And I think and we didn't rehearse this at all because this just came in, and I think that like I was kind of trying to push this brighter. I didn't get a chance to, I didn't add too much, I didn't add color to it, but that's a really good point. And then the other thing that I was thinking of with this, because the way that this is kind of structuring out is like, okay, so now we've got the far buildings are kind of more in shadow, which is nice, and we can kind of like frame, like this now kind of frames the characters a little bit, and that the like if we could even just shift this building over slightly, then behind the characters there'll be a dark shape that allows that their brighter values to pop forward. I would also completely eliminate this pillar on this side, just because it kind of cuts through him a little bit, and I would also eliminate this plant in the middle. So what this would do is it would create a framing element here, a framing element over here, this pillar that would and now we've got just kind of a boxed in view of these characters with a where the only thing kind of back behind them is this building, which is a little bit shadowed, and then we can really kind of zero in on them. I think because I think there's just like when we're dealing with backgrounds, sometimes we want to avoid the detail of small shapes near the area that we're focusing on, and we want to push that stuff to the corner, and then like behind them create it's like the actually maybe Pinocchio has this. I guess so, it does a little bit, but like by having a very, very simple thing back behind them, then the details of his shapes are able to pop forward. And so by especially eliminating this tree will do that. And you can still get the feeling of the external space, and that will provide for that. Now, I do really like what the reference that we pulled in before that Diana was sharing with this idea of like a color wash coming in. And I think that this is like if you were drawn to this one, this is a little bit more saturated. If you wanted to pull it back into something like this, but because these two have very different feels to them, like they're communicating the same time of day, but this is a little more saturated, it's a little more punchy. Where this one's like more of a softer, like it's she's got pizza and tea and slippers and books open, like she's having a good day and it's nice and relaxing. I don't know if anyone else thinks that's a good day. That looks really good to me.
Yeah, and the second to last one I think works really well because the green really pops against the yellow of the sun. But since we're doing characters and their skin tones are going to be like warm too, it might be a good idea to like a little bit desaturate the outside. But it'll be a process. Play with what looks good.
And then additionally, like one of the things about the light coming in through the windows on some of this stuff, like I think that, and I played with this a little bit, but you can, I think you can push the like to get to like a little bit more oomph of getting that light inside and pushing the value on the environment itself a little bit more. I pulled it off the characters just because it kind of blew out the characters a little bit, but like, let's see what I got. This one. So just like a little bit more on the highs, getting some higher brights on the inside as well when we start to up the exposure on the outside a little bit.
Yeah, I think when there's sunlight coming in, and on the floor you really have this like bright patch where the sunlight hits, it really sells that it's the sun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so strong. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. Ajay, do you have any questions? But you're definitely like, it's definitely starting to come together. It's starting to feel, I think we got a really good setup.
I think I agree with what you guys say. I don't have any questions about the changes. Two questions that I have are about actually, I don't know, Maya or whatever it is. One of them is, I noticed that, I tried to get the crypto AOVs to get the shaders outside, like the plants and stuff, but the AOVs doesn't show through the window.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if there's a way to do that.
So no, out of the box, no is the short answer to that. Like you're stuck with the geometry. So what I would do if this was my scene, I would actually render the outside separately from the inside anyway, just so I could have more control over that brightness value out there a little bit. And so I would do a render with the inside like turned off entirely, and then just have the outside, and that'll A, allow you to get those crypto mats, and B, allow you flexibility in the comp to control those values separately of what's going on inside. And then you can also and then you can layer, you can play with these reflections separately from the background too, because then it's like outside is one layer, and then the reflections are one, and then like the inside's a layer. Maybe the characters can be on their own thing if you want, and then then you can put the reflections on the window, however you'd like. But when there's yeah.
No, and to do that, I would basically need to have 3 different files, right? Or do 3 different renders. There's no way for me to do that and say, give me one beauty with the outside, one beauty with the characters, and one. There
is actually there's a like the render layers functionality within Maya. I have let me make a note for myself. I don't actually have a piece of paper around me. I do have a video. It was in one of my Let's Light series where I was doing just that on a scene, and I'll send that over. I'll post that to the lighting the lighting work in progress and feedback channel for you. But yeah, so you can do that. That being said, I've never trusted fully Maya's render layer manager thing. It's hosed me in the past where it kind of where like you'll do one layer override in one layer and it'll just blow up all of your other layers. So sometimes if I will do them as separate files, but there is a functionality within Maya that allows you to do that I'm guessing is probably better than I give it credit for. And that my old man brain still remembers things that happened to me in 2012 that I will never forgive. I don't know if it was 2012. It might have been some other time. But
the other question I have, which was when I was dealing with this, the AOVs and stuff, I was like, well, that's simple. I'll just delete the window and do another render, which will show the AOVs, the crypto of the plants and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I deleted the window, and somehow the outside scene changed, as if the window is like a magnifying glass or something.
Oh, there's IOR. Oh, Diana, go. IOR, right?
No.
Go.
No, I think the material you have on the window under the geometry tab, there's an option called thin wall. And that happens when the geometry is literally just one sheet. Mm-hmm. That can happen. It like magnifies what's behind it. So if you just check on thin wall, it'll like calculate it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll put a screenshot of that too if you want.
Yeah,
So you know what I-
that's a good one too. Sorry, I'm literally emailing myself because I don't have a piece of paper to write down. So I'll send you layer video. That's my great that's my great
That's like-
system.
That's like peak 2021. I don't have paper, so
I
I'm
don't have paper. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest thing I miss about the office is I don't have a printer at home. I haven't made a piece of paper. I had to physically write on a piece of paper the other day, and my hand just like cramped and got all weird. Have you done that? Like, am I the only one? Anyway.
I always need paper and pen. Like,
I know. All right.
We're just gonna mail you a bunch of it, like notebooks. You'll just have like this big package.
Deal. But yeah, no. So yes. So and by the way, Andre, you're asking all the right questions on this stuff. That's where your head's in the right spot. Okay, Vanessa, you're here. Hi. I do want to jump over to yours because, like I said, with the V last name, I think that you get hosed or the V first name, it stinks. Eyes are looking much better. I do think you can go a little bit brighter, just like another shade brighter. And I think, but everything else still looks good from yesterday, unless anybody with fresh eyes sees something different. I think this is looking really good. I would, It's interesting because I've always thought of her as being like, you know, somebody suggested the idea of playing with the focal length of the lens. I don't know if you saw that note, but basically like try a version, like keep this, you know, like brighten the eyes, keep this exactly as you have it, and then save out a separate file where you actually keep her the same perspective and the same height, but you want to shift the focal length of the lens to be something more like 80. And that actually will make it a little more telephoto, so you'll have to move the camera back. And that will take her features and condense them a little bit. And we're just kind of curious just to see if that, because if that changes our perspective of her. Because right now some of her features feel a little bit exaggerated, like they feel a little bit enlarged because we're a little bit closer with the wider camera angle. It might be cool just to see the difference between those two and have an option there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Do you have any questions
I
with
can try that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like because you've already got this in a
Yeah,
really good spot, it would be a good. Although sometimes with lighting, it's funny. Like you move the camera an inch and everything breaks. It's like, so we can at least give it a try. All right.
Okay.
Dani, you are here as well, so we'll hop into yours. Yeah, this is like the little bit of haze is looking makes such a big difference. I'm liking the rims on these bottles. I think those look really good. The thing that I was there were a few little things that were standing out to me. Number one, it's still the swords still feel like they're not getting the warmth, like any sort of like warmth reflection. They're still just like kind of very cool in the warm areas over here. Number two is the edge of this wall feels very, very sharp, and it would just be nice to get like a little bit of softening on it, a little bevel on that, like make it feel like it's weathered and worn down. And number three is you've got really nice directionality, if that's a word, with all of these light sources, right? Like the candle lights here, they feel very localized. The light coming in this window feels very motivated and directional. The moonlight feels a little bit loose, and that like it feels like it's kind of like there's a little bit too much kind of all over here, and like there's a hard shadow here, and I just kind of want to feel the light coming in a little bit tighter, a little bit more like specific to that, because I think that would play it better into the scene. But overall, this is it's like the image itself is really coming together, I think.
When I was working on the swords, I put on them a specific spotlight, and I tried doing a warmer color. It just made it look everything brown, and it just sunk into the background. That's why I used a cooler tone.
Do me a favor, because I think it's more about the reflections than it is the light itself on them. Maybe try putting even like a plain back over here and turn off the primary visibility on it, and only like, and just see if it maybe just like shows up in reflections, and maybe make this a little bit warmer, just to see if you can get some warmer reflections in there or something like that.
Can you say that again?
Oh, it was just
Play-
yeah, just putting something. So right now we've got like camera rays shooting this way. They're hitting like this angled side, and I'm guessing they're picking up the reflection of this. And that's why they're coming off as being a little bit neutral or cooler. I'm wondering if we can't put something in
to
here.
block it.
Not to maybe to block it, but more to be a warm reflection in them. I like maybe give that a try. Just because again, it's less about lighting them with things and more about giving them the right color to reflect. Not refract, reflect.
Okay.
So, does anybody else have anything?
One thing.
What do you think
that-
about the rim on the table?
Oh, Andre, what were you gonna say? And then I'll answer that.
What I was going to say is that one thing that is kind of looks weird to me is the lighting on the table, because it's like a completely different color of the rest of the scene.
You talking about this table over
And-
here?
But mainly on the walls around the window, because like if it's the moonlight or whatever, the street light coming through, it wouldn't illuminate the walls behind it, or like by its side. So that's the only thing that kind of like looks weird to me. I think that the light coming through is fine and shining on the table and on the floor, but it's the color on the wall is throwing me off, as if there's like a different light source illuminating there from the inside of the room
Yeah.
with a different color.
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of what I was saying before about like just feeling soft over here and feeling loose. It's because like the highlights on the bars, the window look really good. And when Danny, when you were saying the table, you meant this table as well, right?
No, just the one with the
This one?
ball.
I think this one looks good.
Okay, and on the desk.
And the desk. We meant the different tables. I agree with Andre that I think just like
Yeah,
take.
I'll close it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other thing, the shadow. It's funny. I'm pointing at my screen as if everybody.
It's very natural.
The shadow on the floor also feels like it's a lamp or something inside the room. Other than the one that's coming from the left, it feels like more of like a light coming through and actually flooding into the scene, you know. But yeah, that's the only thing that I can see. I like that the little extra light on the couch, the feeling a little bit more separation looks really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so we'll do Kat, and then we're gonna do Tristan, and then I think that's everybody that's here, and then we'll go through the rest. So Kat, this is looking cool. This is really cool. Overall, yeah, the colors are more punchy. They're feeling more. It feels more alive. I do think. I do want like this central part of her to go a little bit darker. I do want like that darker, like a little bit more contrasty in the core. And
Do you
then
like kind of that green tone on her? Because I know we were talking last time you didn't want to be neutral. So do you want to like just make the light a little less bright but keep that greenish color?
I do like the saturation. Yeah, it's a value thing and bringing it down, and just making it because it's real. It should feel more about the rims than what's going on in here, because that's really picking up the detail, and we've got some self-illuminating on these blues. I would I keep looking at this yellow sign because it's different than everything else. I would almost
Okay.
I would almost keep that in the same color scheme as everything else.
Okay.
Just because it's like it's so like we've got 3 colors, like the greenish, the magenta, and the cyan over everything, and then there's like this one kind of yellow and the red that kind of pops out there. So just keeping those in alignment with everything to make it feel more synergized.
That's funny because isn't the yellow on your name?
Yep.
Yeah, I hate it. No, I'm just kidding. It is, and I would. I mean, as much as my own self arrogance would like to see the attention drawn to my own name. Yeah, and you know the one that says Jasmine, just completely delete that one. You don't need that one.
You don't need
We don't need it. No one needs that. And then, yeah, I think. What do you guys think? Is there anything? I mean, and then like and then for like the spotlights, like it gets a little muddled up in here. I wonder.
Yeah, there's 2 different lights up there. I think that's why. Same with the kind of the. If you go to the center, you have that blue hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it might just be the colors meshing too much in that one.
I think so. Yeah, and it's. There might just be too many of the spotlights, because like
Right.
there's just like a lot of shapes back there. It might be better just to simplify with like 2 or 3 of them.
Okay.
But I'll open up. What do you guys think?
Did you notice the color pops on the motorcycle? I have a green light and a purple light going different directions to just kind of make there's more color pops of the light than before,
I like that.
like along the pipes and stuff.
Yeah, I think those look really good. And then the other thing too is if you have a Z depth pass of the scene, if maybe adding a little bit of haze as we go back into like make it like purple or green or one of the colors, and just like haze it back into space a little bit, because it just kind of feels equally dark, and it would be nice to get a little more sense of scale.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else?
I have one just like real.
Oh, let's see. Danny, you go first.
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I just would suggest maybe like just like dollying the camera like just out a bit, because the head and the feet are very close to like the edge. One, is it like a tangent that they call that?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2, like if you decided to put this on a demo at some point and you wanted to do some kind of push in or push, like there's not going to be enough room to like fill your screen, and if you push in, it's going to cut her head off in your demo. So just something to think about.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because you don't want to. I always think of the Sistine Chapel, the David thing with the fingers that are about to touch. There's like a visual tension that occurs when 2 objects are very, very close together. And it's great in an instance like that, but we don't always want to generate that. So I agree, like pulling back the camera just a touch. Dialing it back.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, Danny, you had a note?
Yeah, I wanted to ask where the rims are coming from, because the right side of her body looks like she's getting the purple from the spotlight right behind her,
Mm-hmm.
and the rim on the left seems like there's the green spotlight that looks at the same spot, but it doesn't show on the body.
Yeah, the rims are separate, so it's just 2 separate spotlights. They're not. I was thinking about that too. The way the spotlights come out, you're not sure if they're actually hitting her or not. But the spotlights aren't hitting her. It's just kind of a cool visual effect.
Yeah.
But so the purple is just a little. It's a separate light.
You know, you may want to try varying it. Like one side of her gets the cyan, the other side gets the magenta. And I agree. Like, I think it's not 100% necessary in a shot like this to like know it, because it feels very stylized and different. Like we don't always like it doesn't quite have to match perfectly with what's going on around it, but it might be kind of cool for it to be like magenta one side, cyan the other. That might be a terrible idea, but it could be worth trying too.
Or I could flip the purple and green lights on the bike, so then there's a purple hit coming in the back of the bike, so you think that the light's coming from that purple hit.
Maybe, yeah.
Either way. I mean, I could try doing the green plan. That could be kind of cool too, just to kind of,
Yeah, those are good.
play around with it.
Yeah, just play around with that a little bit. All right, cool. All right, let's hop over into Tristan's. So Tristan, before we got on, Diana, you were mentioning actually Tristan, let's start with you. Like, so you want to do 3 different iterations of this, you said, and you wanted to tell a story about the plane, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we, like, to put it in context a little bit?
I was thinking, I had like a little story in mind. A guy who comes from a generation of aviators wants to go into space, so that's why there's an Millennium Falcon on the left side.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to do a tribute to aviators on the right side of the screen, and then on the left, hint towards its future.
Cool. That's great. So the first thing, 2 things out of the gate, just check. So by default, I noticed when I was working with this set that the file paths to the pictures on the wall, they come in localized sometimes, so you may just need to adjust those, or you can add your own images in these picture frames around here.
Well, I think he mentioned he wants to put his own images.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool. And then what do you envision outside the store?
I was just thinking I put a hallway, just a hallway, regular hallway with maybe a table.
Okay.
With a lamp.
Okay. So just like a continuation of the house, nothing like okay.
Yeah.
So I think it looks really nice. The one thing about a situation like this, when you're trying to, like, if you're trying to tell a story about the plane, is if you start to have too much haze over it, it starts to, like, it lowers the contrast of it and allows it falls back too much in the background. So, like, if that's the case, you want to push that haze behind it a little bit, so the haze lifts the dark values of what's behind it, but keeps the contrast on the object itself. And then the other thing is, I'm wondering if, because like looking at the image, all of the light is hitting the right half of the image, and it feels a little imbalanced to me. Like, it feels like it's very right side heavy, and I'm not finding a lot of motivation to come over here. So I'm wondering, I'm trying to think if there's a way maybe to, instead of the light hitting the wall here, if there's a way of making the light come more across the room into here, and maybe like the window like gives some light here and then kind of hits some of these other areas a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sure, I could try that. The only thing I'm afraid it might do is lose the focus on the wall, and that's where I plan to put
Yeah. Okay.
pilot spaces. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then that, like, let's leave that as is. You're right. I'm just wondering if maybe, like, I'm wondering how to balance compositionally this out, because it feels right heavy to me.
Yeah, I should find something to link the 2 sides of the image.
What if the light came from the window on the left and went all the way to shine on that wall on the right?
Or even, yeah, possibly, or even just like more indication that the window's here with just like a little bit of light creeping in here with a little bit of haze.
Yeah, it's very tricky because I used to have the image a whole lot brighter on the left side, but when I was looking at the image, my eyes were strictly going in that direction. I wasn't looking towards the plane, since the image was right on the left. So it's really tricky to find a balance between those 2 light sources.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the left could fall even darker.
Yeah, that would be a way to do it too.
Yeah. So, like, you could see it. You could make out the shape if you looked at it, but you don't necessarily want people to be looking over there. So you just all the focus over there, and then when our eyes travel, you can see it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I guess that's I guess it'd be the better thing to do. So I might just do that.
One thing that I'm noticing here also right by the plane, there's two things almost black hanging out.
Yeah.
And every time that I look at the plane, my eyes goes to the two round things.
The ladles
that-
or whatever these are.
Maybe move those to the right a little bit more to give the plane more room, or maybe tone them down. I don't know.
Yeah, I think moving them is the right move.
Yeah, because there's a lot of contrast there, and there's almost no contrast on the plane, so our eyes goes to the dark thing.
That's a
Yeah,
really
you're right. You're
good
right.
point.
Okay.
All right, cool.
I have a question. I don't know if I. Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, what do you want the focus of this image to be? The plane and the drawings, or what is it exactly?
Yeah, that would be the plane and the frames on the wall. That would be the main thing. Like I said,
Okay.
I also plan to focus on the Millennium Falcon, but I just scrapped that.
Okay, I really like your idea, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I think it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that not moving the spoons, because it does bring me forwards, like to what's happening in the foreground instead of the background where you want us to look. So, yeah, I really like your idea.
Thanks.
All right, cool.
All right.
All right, great. Okay, so we have.
Another thing-
Oh, yes, please. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, 'cause when Vanessa was talking about the foreground, I was also realizing that the foreground here, both the telescope, the globe, the table, whatever that is, are a lot more saturated also than the background. So our eyes keep wandering on the foreground instead of where you want us to look.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the haze, right?
Yeah, that's probably it. I guess that when I'll put the haze back of the image, it might be better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
I guess I have all I need.
Yeah, no, it's good, but like, what I really like is one of the things that happens that I've noticed is that when we have like the attic or like Ashley or one of the other characters, one of the sets, is that you start to see a lot of them being done in what would be like the very straightforward way, which is like where the camera is set up. And I love when we see more and more and more of them, because you can feel this idea of like, okay, I need to do something different. So you push yourself, and like this is an angle of the room and a look of the room I've never seen before, and it's nice. It's a nice take on it. Okay, so we've got a few more to go through. I'll go through Saumik's, T's, and Wenhui's. And then I'll go through those three, and if you all have, and then I'll stop at the end to see if there's any additional comments that we want to make. So we'll start with T. T, welcome to the group. This is from Pinocchio, and you mentioned the warm tones over the cooler background, and I think that's spot on. I also mentioned earlier today that it's about like simplifying the background to allow like shapes like the nose and the eyes of the character to really stand out. A character like Jiminy Cricket is always difficult because he's so small, and making sure that he has enough breathing room or like a proper background back behind him is a very important part of getting him to read in the story. I also want to point out that like Pinocchio's red feather in his hat is something that like makes him, in yellow hat, kind of always make him instantly identifiable throughout the film. So like making sure that like you can identify him in a shot, like as the edits are happening almost immediately. But it's it's so funny that you did this, because I was just talking to somebody about Pinocchio and like talking to students who want to do animation, and he's an animator, and he was like, yeah, because you'll talk to him about like, hey, do you know like have you studied the classics and posing and all this stuff? And they'd be like, oh yeah, no, I saw Toy Story 4. And be like, no, like let's look at some other hand-drawn stuff, because they really had an opportunity to pose things the way they wanted. And it's like, and he used Pinocchio as an example of a really, really well thought out, well animated film, and I thought that was very cool. So this is a really beautiful reference, so thank you for sharing that. Saumik, so you're in your first Power of Light challenge. Very cool stuff. And what I'm guessing this is from the most recent Blade Runner. There's a lot of grizzled Harrison Ford movies that are out now. There's like Call of the Wild. I don't think it's from that, but this feels like a Blade Runner one. So my first impression between this and yours is this feels a little too saturated in the yellows. I would pull back on that a little bit, but your focus on the shaping, the kind of the half illuminated look of his face is right. I think that I'm wondering if the light source couldn't actually get bigger, because I'm seeing like the small specular highlight versus what we're seeing here, which is a much larger, more diffused light, and so there's like a very soft fall off going across them. But I think other than those two things, I think you're pretty spot on with what you got. In the framing, again, like I wouldn't, similar to what Aaron was saying earlier about the top, but like in this particular case, we are kind of punched in more on the character in this, so I think it's actually okay. But that yeah, other than the saturation and making the light a little bit bigger, I think that would be the way to go, because this feels like just one main light source in the reference as well. And then Wenhui, yeah, I think this is looking good. And I think that you've got, and one of the things that we were talking about earlier with Andre's shot is getting a little bit more of like a color haze around the window. And now that we've just had that conversation, I think that could be really beneficial here too. It feels a little neutral coming around the window, so maybe pushing that a little bit warmer would be kind of fun. And then the other thing I would like to do is to maybe let's see if this works. Try and push a little bit more light onto the face and making the face just a little bit brighter, just to kind of and that saturation got a little nutty, but I just want to see a little bit more light on the face, especially on this kind of side, just to kind of get it to pop out just a little bit more. But yeah, that'll be good. Does anybody else have any comments for T or Saumik or Wenhui? Because I think the rest of it's looking well. Maybe trying to push a little more shaping on this chair, darkening it towards its screen right side would be helpful. But I love like the softness of the light on the pillows and the focus on the picture here. That makes us all so sad. Is always really good. So, all right, cool. All right, well, is there anything else before we break for the day, guys? All right, cool. All right, well, for those that signed up to help out with the ACES workflow stuff, make sure you download the links I sent. Practice it. Use something with a texture map. Is there anything else, Diana, I missed? No, I got to put you on the spot once during a critique section. So, yeah, so that's it. Make sure, and we should have that for everyone hopefully soon thereafter. We meet on Thursday. So, all right, be good, everybody. Enjoy your Tuesday. Talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Take care.